y'all. Welcome to Paige's Perspective, where I help you find your inner strength to cope with life. This week, during our Independently Strong meeting, we discussed the topic of validation and trusting ourselves. I wanted to create a Paige's Perspective on the same topic as I feel it could be beneficial for many of our listeners. You know, we hear all the time, who cares what others think? You don't need validation. You just need to trust yourself and your instincts, trust your gut, which is true to a certain extent. We eventually get to that place, but there is a process that occurs to actually get there. It's not a magical mental shift where we tell ourselves, hey, you don't need validation. We're human, guys. We aren't robots. And if you've been in a relationship with someone who lies, manipulates, blames, gaslights, actually distorts your reality, yes, you do need validation to feel less alone and not crazy. So when someone says, trust your gut, trust your instincts, many of us don't know how to do that because our reality has been so distorted by someone we were supposed to trust. So when someone says these things, we feel like failures in a way. We feel like if it were that easy, we wouldn't be asking these questions. So there is a process to this, and I'm going to share just a bit of it with our listeners today. And I think this is going to be helpful for those who want to understand why they feel they need validation, and also for those who may be in recovery to understand why validation is important. Also, just a side note, validation from our life partner is important. It's what helps people feel safe and connected. But being in a relationship where narcissistic abuse has been present, we're going to crave validation. If you've ever felt like you knew something was wrong in your relationship, but you couldn't explain it, or you did explain it and then you were told that you were too sensitive or too emotional, or you just weren't remembering things right, or maybe you were overreacting, this episode's going to be for you, because let's be real. When someone has spent years warping your sense of reality, you don't just snap your fingers and suddenly trust yourself again. That kind of damage takes a lot of time to heal. And part of healing is learning to recognize the stages we move through as we rebuild that self-trust. So let's walk through it. There are 3 phases to this that I've thrown together. Phase 1 is going to be called borrowed belief. This is when you say, please tell me I'm not crazy. This is where external validation is necessary to counteract trauma. We don't know up from down. We question everything. Was that really abuse? Maybe I was too emotional. Was I overreacting? Maybe I'm the problem. They were struggling. I was supposed to be the supportive one. So we reach out to friends. We reach out to therapists. We go to support groups, and not just for that comfort, but to check if our memory is even real, or if it's a gut check. To see if we aren't alone, if people understand us, to find solutions to problems we feel we can't solve on our own. So if you're finding yourself asking a million questions, or you're texting so many friends like, what should I do here? What should I do? It's okay. This is part of the process. You're looking for validation. You're looking for somebody to tell you that you're not alone and that you're not crazy. And then when someone finally looks at you in the eye, or they even just tell you through the speakers or through your friends, or through your texts or through the phone, and they say, you're not crazy. Like, something inside clicks when you get that external validation. It's like you were underwater and someone finally pulled you up for air. This is what I like to call borrowed belief. You don't trust yourself yet, so you borrow someone else's belief in you, while yours is still being rebuilt. And that's okay. It's not a failure. It's a step. It's part of the process. Embrace it. Lean into it. You're doing exactly what you should be doing. You're surrounding yourself with people who hold you steady while you're shaking. Those who understand it. People that you can trust. People that are safe. But the danger in staying there too long is that it can become your default. So if your healing always depends on someone else nodding in agreement, you never fully reclaim your own voice. You hold up your experience and someone says, yes, that was abuse. No, you're not overreacting. That feeling you had, you were right to listen to it. This external reflection helps get your nervous system and your brain back to truth. It gives you the clarity and safety you didn't get in the relationship. So think of it this way. Trauma warps your internal GPS. It does. Being in these situations, in these relationships, seriously makes you feel like you are out of control and you cannot trust yourself anymore. But validation from safe, trustworthy people, it's acting like a temporary navigation system until you repair your own. So eventually the goal is to internalize that validation, to believe yourself without needing constant confirmation, and rebuilding trust within your own body, your own emotions, and your own truth. But to get there, you're probably going to need someone to say you're not crazy until that becomes your own voice. And it's okay to be here in that position. And eventually you will need less external validation. The Facebook community is a great place for validation. Join in on a community call and you will leave feeling so much lighter. But let's move on to phase 2. I told you there are 3 phases to this, but let's go to phase 2. This is what I call the rebuilding reality phase. It's a tender phase. And honestly, it's where a lot of people can get stuck for a while. And it's totally okay. This is not me judging anybody for staying in this place. I still come to this place sometimes within different areas of my life. Like, this is human. But during this phase, you're going to start to feel your own voice rising. You're going to start to feel your voice coming back. And you're going to say things like, that conversation made me feel off, or I know I deserve better, but I'm really scared to act on it, or I feel like this dynamic is familiar in an unhealthy way. You're not fully grounded in your truth yet, but it's coming through. You're showing signs. You still ask others what they think. You still second guess yourself though. Like, you're asking for reassurance from others. This is where you make connections and you're like, oh, is this, this is how I feel. What do you think about this? But now you hear the second guessing instead of drowning in it. You catch it. And that's progress. But this is the phase where people sometimes confuse growth with weakness. Like, you might feel like you should be further along, that you shouldn't need reassurance anymore. But I'm going to say this, and I've said it a lot, is that you're healing, and healing isn't linear. This is actually a step in growth. Healing does feel like you are going back in a lot. It happens, guys. Give yourself grace and understand that this is part of the process and it's okay to be in this position. I'm just here to break it down for you, to help you understand that the phases that you're going through and how they're normal and where not to get stuck. But if you do get stuck, it's okay. And you will have people who will guide you through that and out of it. But this is the phase where you recognize that you aren't crazy and other people see it too. It's a big deal when other people see it too. You feel less alone. You feel moments of clarity and confidence, but also a bit stuck because it may be difficult to make decisions without that fear. You still want validation. You want that reassurance. You're still seeking it, but it's more of a reassurance and not the lifeline. It's not your lifeline. You're not looking to others to make the decisions for you. You just need that reassurance that you're on the right path. And you're starting to hold your own truth with one hand, even if you still need someone else to steady it with the other. And we can stay here for a while because remember how long you've been lied to, manipulated, gaslit, all the things that you've gone through within your relationship. And it's going to take time to unravel and trust yourself again without the need of validation. So let's go to the last phase. Phase 3. This is self-validation. Pretty simple, straightforward. This is the goal. This is where everybody feels like they want to be. This is where your gut speaks. And instead of doubting it, you honor it. You walk into a room. You feel the energy is off and you trust yourself enough to leave. No explanation necessary. You set a boundary and you don't spiral if someone doesn't like it. You make a decision, and even if someone questions it, you don't feel the need to convince them that you're right. You are comfortable telling people without you're comfortable telling people no without an explanation. You are confident in making decisions that are best for you and even your kids. Like, you validate yourself internally before the world gets a vote. And here's the truth that most people don't say out loud is that it's not that you never want validation again. We're wired for connection, guys. It's that you don't need it to know who you are anymore. You've become a safe person for yourself. You don't gaslight yourself. You don't abandon your gut to make someone else comfortable. You don't treat yourself the way they treated you. And that's freedom. That's where freedom comes into play. I have watched so many of our independently strong wheelies go through all of these phases. Some are still in phase 1, some are in phase 2, and some are in phase 3. but they are trusting the process of getting to that phase 3 if they haven't gotten there yet. And it's empowering for them to learn how to trust themselves again and make decisions for themselves. This is what our program is designed to do. It will get you through all of the phases so you can trust yourself and validate yourself without needing the world to validate you. But again, it's a process. It's an empowering one. So if you're interested in the program, use code Wheelie75 at independentlystrong.com. We have 10 modules that are self-paced. You have access to our weekly Wednesday calls to connect with others going through it. So external validation helps you know you're not crazy. It confirms that what you experienced was probably abuse. It helps regulate your nervous system through connection. When we connect with others going through something similar or who have been there, you get to breathe. You get to realize that you're not alone. And that is such an important part of this process that a lot of places and programs miss out on. And the danger isn't in seeking validation, right? It's when you never learn to validate yourself unless someone else does it first. And that's where it can become a dependency instead of a support system. But again, that's part of the first process of the first phase. So it's okay to be there. We need to be validated to get to the next step. So where are you? Let's check in with that for a second. Where are you within these phases? Like, do you feel like you can trust your own voice even when it feels uncomfortable? Or do you still find yourself needing that extra push from someone else before taking action? But also ask yourself too, what would it look like to stop asking everyone else for permission to believe what you already know? What would it feel like to look in the mirror and say, I trust you, I believe you, I've got your back? Because at the end of the day, becoming a safe person to yourself doesn't mean you never lean on others. It means that you stop needing someone to hold your hand to walk toward truth. You might walk with people, you might lean on people, but you lead yourself. I hope that this was helpful. I really do have a lot to say on validation and how it is important for those who have gone through trauma or been in a relationship with somebody who is either an alcoholic, an addict, or even has narcissistic tendencies, or just even a toxic environment. If you've been impacted by certain things or certain behaviors, there's typically trauma that's involved, and we do need to be validated. But eventually we get to a point where we validate ourselves, and we still need some validation from others. Like in our relationship, we have a lot of validation within each other. I think that's what helps with healthy relationships. But eventually, like, you find the gray area, you find the middle ground, you find where you do have your voice and you don't have to be validated by everything. And that's our goal. That's what we try to do. That's how we try to help others, is to find their voice again so that they can make decisions that align with their values and they can validate themselves and trust themselves again. So that's all I have for this week. Until next time, I'm Paige. Bye.